Hello whimsy friends, welcome back to another video. This week is going to be a witchy Q&A because a couple of days ago I had asked on my Instagram any questions that you guys had for me, and most of them were witchy related, which is really fun. There are still some questions that are not witchy related that I'm going to throw in here as well, and then a few questions that I just get very frequently on my videos or in my DMs. And yeah, I'm just very excited because if you've been following me for a while, then you know this last year has been my journey into witchcraft and becoming, I guess, a quote-unquote baby witch. And it's been very exciting and a little confusing at times, to be honest. But I'm excited to talk about it and kind of share my own experiences with my practice and just, you know, exploring this very unknown world to myself and why and how I got into it. Also, the questions are in no like particular order. It's gonna be a bit random, so yeah. So let's get started with the first question. Okay, I'm gonna try really hard to look at the lens and not the viewfinder because I kept getting comments about that on my last sit down video that I am not looking at the camera. It's such a random thing that I never realized I was doing because like when you film yourself, you're self-conscious and you want to make sure that you're like looking normal and not crazy, so you're always looking at the viewfinder, but I know it's a bad habit, so I'm gonna try to look at the camera, but no promises. Okay, so the first question is, do you have any Christmas traditions or any that you want to start? Honestly, there aren't any major Christmas traditions that I try to keep up with every year that are unique or special. One thing though recently I started doing with my husband is, for some reason, every Christmas for the last 3 years we've gone to the beach. And I know that seems weird, but nobody goes to the beach on Christmas, so it's always like completely empty, and we always bring our dogs and let them off the leash and just collect shells, and it's very peaceful. It's freezing, but we always just like to get really bundled up and just kind of go take like a really nice little walk in the cold on Christmas. And I know it's kind of weird, but I really enjoy it. But going forward, I would really like in the future and like this year, starting this year, for traditions to gift homemade gifts and make homemade decorations. And it's not necessarily going to be all the gifts I give or all the decorations I have, but I would like to put an effort into making things with my hands and creating things rather than purchasing things all the time. Like this year, I'm going to make a video about like DIY Christmas decorations and DIY Christmas gifts or Yule decorations or, you know, holiday gifts, whatever you celebrate. And I think it's so fun because not only do you get to enjoy giving it to somebody, but you get to enjoy making it. So it's like a twofer. You know what I mean? That is a tradition I would like to start, just a little bit more homemade, like homemade gifts, homemade treats, homemade food, homemade decorations, all of that. I just think homemade would be really fun to continue to do throughout the years. Also, I would love to have like go-to recipes that I make every single year. Like, you know, I have it in my cookbook and I'm like, this is the pie that I make every single year, or this is the mac and cheese recipe that I have as a side every single year, whatever it might be. I would just love to have recipes that are my go-to recipes. What is on your Christmas list? Big, small, everything. I need ideas for when I'm asked. Ooh, one thing that I've been really wanting for a while is a Mackenzie Childs tea kettle. They're so whimsical and pretty and fun, and they come in so many different patterns and colors. I really like this one. It's like a pink checker looking one, or they also have garden flowers or bright colors or just really so many fun different patterns. And I think not only obviously it's nice for tea, but it kind of brightens up and whimsifies your kitchen. And so that's probably one of the top things on my list. Another thing would be a Furbo camera, because whenever I leave the house, I immediately, instantly miss my animals. And I just think it would be really fun to have like a little camera that like spits treats out at your cats and your dogs, and you can spy on them and stuff. That's very top of my list as well. And then kind of a piggyback on that, I follow so many Instagram pages with cats that have little cameras on their necks, and I would love to get one of those for my cats and just see like what they do throughout the day. I feel like it'd be like hours of endless entertainment. And other things like that. I love skincare, so you know, nice quality skincare, pajamas. I love pajamas, like lots of different kinds of pajamas. I really love homemade gifts, so just like whimsical homemade things. Do you have a favorite fall pastry? Anything with apple cinnamon. I love like apple pie or apple crumble. or like apple cinnamon coffee cake. Just apple cinnamon is just, it's my favorite. I love the smell of it and the taste and just the color, all of it. I love it all. Do you share readings on any platforms like Goodreads or Fable? Would love to follow you. I do have a Goodreads account and I never really use it. I did use it for like a couple of months and then I just kind of forgot about it, but I'd love to get back into it because I do read a lot and I love seeing what other people are reading, and it does sort of keep you accountable for continuing to read, because I do go through slumps where I get distracted and I don't read that often, and reading definitely brings me a lot of inner peace and it keeps me off of my phone. So maybe I will get back into that and I'll let you guys know what my account is below, and I'll start, maybe that could be like a New Year's Eve goal. What is your favorite fall show or movie? I have so many. I love fall shows and movies because I love spooky things. So shows, I would say I'm a really big fan of Stranger Things, which is great that the last season just came out. I love Supernatural. I was one of those girls in high school who was absolutely obsessed with Dean Winchester. Still kind of am. love that show. I'm really sad it's leaving Netflix. Vampire Diaries. Oh, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch. I love the aesthetic of that show. It's so good. It's creepy and weird and but also cozy in a way. I don't know. I really like it. And then for movies, Dead Poet Society is such a good movie. You've Got Mail, classic. Coraline, it's creepy and weird and I love it. Halloween Town, like all those Halloween movies that were on Disney Channel, like Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town, Twitches, all that kind of thing. Little Women, absolutely adore that movie, like the newest one. All of them are good, but I really like the newest one. Practical Magic, but I don't really feel like it's a fall movie. To me, that feels like a summer, spring movie, but I think people associate it with the fall because it's witches, but I don't see it as a fall movie, but I'm just gonna include it in here because witches. And then Twilight. I love a good Twilight marathon rewatch every Hoa Hoa season. Such a big Twilight girl in high school. Loved the books, loved reading it. I was, yeah, big fan and still am. It's so stupid and so kitschy and melodramatic and ridiculous, and that's why it's so great. Do you have a favorite cat breed? My favorite cat breed is a rescued cat, or really any cat. But I guess if I'm talking about like the way they look, I love long-haired cats. Calliope's a British long hair. I just love their huge eyes and long fur. It's very, very cute. But I also love a good black cat, obviously Salem. I'm obsessed with orange cats and calico cats, which are all the cats that I have. Any cat. The answer to that question is any cat. What is your sun, moon, and rising? So my sun is Virgo, my moon is Aries, and my rising is also Virgo. And I've always thought it's kind of weird to have so much Virgo in my chart because I don't really relate to Virgo that much, other than I think I am very, I overthink about everything. But I also have always felt like I'm not a very organized person. I'm not analytical. I always lead with my emotions rather than my logic. So I never found that part of astrology to be accurate for me, but I know that there's so much more that goes into it with your whole chart. So I can't say that it's not accurate, but just off the bat, I wouldn't say that that really describes me. The moon being Aries, I do have like a very adventurous, fiery side to me, which I don't really feel like comes out that often. Like the adventurous side does, but the fiery side, I feel like I felt like that a lot more when I was younger, but as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more down to earth and a little bit more soft. And so like that side I don't relate to as much. So I don't know. I mean, you guys can tell me, like I can maybe put my birth chart in there and you guys can tell me what you think about it. I do think astrology is really interesting and cool and it feels very accurate a lot of the time, but my own personal chart, I have a hard time relating to it. So I would love to actually speak with somebody who studies that professionally and have them explain it to me, because to me, I just don't understand my own chart and I don't relate to it. So anyway, I do think being a Virgo, there are a lot of things I do relate to, but for the most part, I've always felt like I relate more to a Pisces. So I don't know. I'm still learning like the meanings of crystals specifically. Like if I'm looking at them, I could probably tell you which one I think is the prettiest. As far as like what I think the most meaningful and to me is, and the most powerful for me in like my own world, I really like amethyst. I think it's supposed to stimulate creativity, and I do feel like I'm such a creative person, so being around anything or having anything near me that feels that fuels my creativity is really nice. And then I would say maybe green adventurite, just because who doesn't love a little luck, and I really love that color. That's like probably after purple. Those are my two favorite colors actually. Really pretty deep purple and then like a light sort of smoky green color. Those are appearance wise my favorite, and then I guess usage wise also my favorite. Who is your favorite music artist, and do you have any whimsy magical song recs? I would say my favorite music artist is either Hozier or Florence and the Machine or Taylor Swift. Love Taylor Swift, but as far as like more whimsy goes, I would feel like Hozier and Florence and the Machine are the most whimsy. I think they're both probably magical people, like in real life, not just the music they create. They both give off this sort of like otherworldly vibe to me. And my wedding song with my husband is Work Song by Hozier, and I just absolutely love that song. It's haunting, it's beautiful, it makes me get very emotional. I think Florence and the Machine, she has so many good ones. I love the song Witch by her, currently is probably my favorite. But her whole new album is really cool, and her aesthetic is so awesome, and the way that she writes her music, like the way she speaks about it, is really, really interesting and very powerful. And yeah, I feel like she's a goddess. She's very whimsical and very, but like powerful whimsy. Yeah, so those would probably be my favorites. What got you started in witchcraft? This is a really common question and probably the longest answer. I think that witchcraft has always been something I've been interested ever since I was really, really young. And I mean, when I was in middle school, I was very open about liking witchcraft and fairies and all of that stuff, and I think that made me quite unpopular. So going into high school, I sort of like shot myself in the foot as far as being one of the cool kids, but who wants to be a cool kid anyway? But I did see during that time that people thought it was weird. People were not used to somebody being so open about that, and I learned from that age on that I kind of needed to hide it, which is really sad. But so after, you know, those years of being in high school and repressing it, I sort of pushed it so far down the interest in it that I convinced myself I wasn't interested in it. And then as time went on, I started just feeling like this calling towards nature, this calling towards wanting to create things, towards spooky things, towards the unknown. I've always loved the idea of the afterlife and the idea of energy and astrology and magic and just everything to do with witchcraft. And so the farther I got from this image I created of myself, of this like perfect, like normal girl, the closer I got to who I really am, which is this very witchy, creative, free-spirited girl. And eventually I was in the military, and eventually I just decided I couldn't be this girl anymore, and I wanted to be this girl. And so I quit the military and just opened the side of myself that I've been repressing for so long, and then she just flew out of me. She was like, I'm ready to be me. I've been waiting for long enough. And so that's when I fully embraced witchcraft and whimsical life and slow living and nature, and it's been a really fun journey. But I would say, as far as what piqued my interest, I was very young. Probably the first time I got interested in it was like 6th grade. And I credit my aunt and uncle for this, because they live in Charlottesville, and they always have. And when I would visit them when I was really young, they're such whimsical people. They, like, my uncle specifically, he has collected the coolest artifacts throughout his life, like really old fairy, like books about fairies, like really old books about fairies, or really cool trinkets, or really cool haunted items, or just really fun, unique things that you would never find in a store, you could never find online, you could never find them anywhere. And he's just collected them throughout his life, because him and my dad used to live like all over Europe and all over the States, and so they just finally settled down in Charlottesville. But every time I would go there, their house felt so magical and so otherworldly, and like you were stepping into like a fantasy novel. And they had this huge garden in their backyard, and they had all these cats that they would come and they would feed the cats, the feral cats, but they're really sweet. And it was just like, it was such a cool world I got to step into whenever I would visit. And I realized like that to me felt the most happy and the most like connected to who I really was. And so that's why I started becoming so open about loving fairies and loving fantasy and loving witchcraft and stuff. And then, you know, like I said before, people are not, especially kids, are not very nice about stuff like that. Not used to kids like being very open about that kind of thing. So repressed it and everything. But I would say I got started at that age, and then finally a couple of years ago just realized how much I missed it and was being called to it. And I think like when you're a witch, when you're truly a witch, like it will find you. It will continue to call to you till you answer it. And I finally answered. I also think witchcraft is so women-centered, and there's so few things in the world that are women-centered that sort of like embrace the power of women. There's a lot of women-centered things that are not necessarily like highlighting the powerfulness of a woman or the beauty of a woman's strength rather than the beauty of her body or her softness. And I think that it does a really cool job of embracing and celebrating that part of women. And so that also drew me to it, because I've always wanted to be strong and powerful, but I never related to this version I was always trying to be of this like strong military girl. And I thought that's where I wanted to find the strength, but I still wanted to have this soft feminine side to myself as well. And I couldn't be that person in the military. And so witchcraft, it drew me to it because you could be strong and powerful and embrace your femininity at the same time. And I also am very, very strongly support women's rights, equal rights, environment protection, supporting science, supporting universal healthcare. I am very, very much that side of the coin. And I feel like witchcraft really just embraces that. So another reason it was something spiritual I could connect to that didn't feel like it neglected all of those other things. Do you have any siblings? I do. I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle of 2 brothers. And this is a picture of us. They're great. My little brother, the one that's the biggest one in the photo, he is one of my best friends, and we're really, really close. We always joke that we were supposed to be twins. He's 2 years younger than me, but I feel like I'm definitely more of a emotional thinker though, like approach to things, and he's much more logical. So we complement each other in that. So we always, you know, call each other for advice or just to speak about things, and really, really gets me. And that's really cool to have a sibling like that. And then my older brother is just, he's such a charismatic, sweet, loving human being. If you ever met him, he will laugh at everything that you say, and he just has this very infectious, loud laugh. And he's just so fun to be around. And so yeah, I really love my brothers, and I'm so happy that we've gotten to a place where we're all really close, because we were not like that in high school, which most people aren't. But yeah, love my brothers. And unfortunately neither of them live near me. So my older brother lives in Colorado, and then my younger brother lives in Rhode Island. But hopefully one day we'll all live close to each other. More about tattoo removal. So it's not really a question, but I did begin this channel talking about my tattoo removal, and I just don't really want to talk about it anymore. I don't really bring it up as much because it's super weird, but I get a lot of hate for it, and I don't know why, and I just don't want to subject myself to that anymore. I don't want that to be my story on the internet as the girl who'd removed her tattoo sleeve. I just thought it was an interesting topic to discuss online, but did not at all expect the negative comments I was going to get from it. So I'm putting up a boundary. I'm not really going to talk about it anymore. The nice thing with tattoo removal is you can see my tattoo, how much it fades over time, so I don't really feel like I need to talk about it. I have videos on here with Q&As and stuff like that if you're interested in that, but going forward, I'm not really going to be making content about it anymore, so sorry about that. What was a dream that you had as a child? Ooh, that's a really good question. I had so many. I've always been a big dreamer, so I can't say I've only had one dream as a child, but something that sticks out to me is I really wanted to try everything as a child. I just wanted to experience the world. I never thought like, I'm gonna grow up and be a veterinarian, or I'm gonna grow up and be an astronaut or a singer or whatever. I just wanted to experience everything. I had a bucket list going from the time I was really, really young. And I just think that's my personality. Like, I'm jack of all trades and ace of none, unfortunately, but I love to experience life. And I've had so many different phases in my life where you would look at it and be like, that is such a 180 from where you are right now. And I think that's really cool. I I'm proud about that sort of thing about myself, because I'm willing to try anything. Well, anything that I want to try. I'm not afraid to try new things. And I'm gonna continue to be like that, and I'm gonna continue to live in new places and try new hair colors and try new styles and try new careers and styles of art and new music and travel new places and make new friends. I think as a little girl, I just wanted to experience it all. So I would say that was my biggest dream. That, and then having like a bunch of cats and dogs. I knew one day I really wanted to have like a farm with a ton of rescued animals. So that is still a thing that I really would like to do. So I guess that's 2 dreams. Where do you get your inspiration to make life so whimsical? That's a really sweet question. So I think I just get it from my inner child. I get it from that little girl who would run around barefoot in the backyard collecting bugs and making little potions out of mud and leaves. Yeah, I get inspiration from her. I'm like, would she like this? Would she think this is pretty? Would she think this is fun? Would she be proud of me right now? I mean, with my garden, I just think about like, if I had a daughter, would she like to run around through this garden and like with little fairy wings on and pretend that there are little elves like running around through the trees? And that's what brings me inspiration. It's just this little girl version of myself, like past or maybe future, who knows. And like my style, I just dress like all the people that I used to read about in books, and I still read about in books. I dress the way that makes me feel the most magical and whimsical. And so I get inspiration from books and movies and shows and people I see online. A lot of really cool content creators who have very, very cool style, like home style and clothing style, hairstyle, all of that. And it's really cool that we live in a day and age we can see all that, so you can blend it, you know, to be your own perfect style. And I think that's really cool. It's the same thing with art, is nothing is truly completely original. We're all just looking at things that inspire us and making our own version of it. And so I would say that's what I do. It's just a really good blend of everything in life, and to include my little 6-year-old self. What is your favorite season and why? So my favorite season used to be fall. I used to be like a die-hard fall girl, and I still really love fall, but I think I'm a spring girl now, which is kind of crazy, but I never thought I would say that, because growing up in Colorado, spring sucked. It was always really snowy, but like the gross kind of slushy, sleety snow. And every time you thought it was gonna be warm, it'd be like warm for a day, and then all of a sudden it'd be a massive snowstorm. So it just always felt like it was like tricking you. But spring in Virginia is so beautiful, and it is like the perfect time to get into gardening. And you know, the last couple years I've just discovered how much I love gardening, and so that's probably a huge contributing factor to why I love spring so much. Yeah, I love the fresh air. I love flowers. I love planting. I love being outside. I also feel like spring is such a like, it feels the way New Year's does to me. Like I think it is sort of like an actual New Year's to me. Like New Year's is still nice to like plan things for the new year, but I do feel like the new year actually starts in spring for me. So it feels very like refreshing and so pretty, and there's so much energy in the air, and I do feel like I have the most energy in spring. Will you be doing more winter videos? Love how you celebrate each season. So yes, definitely. I have been going through a bit of a tough couple of weeks / few months. So I think my content has kind of like slowed down quite a bit, but I feel I'm coming out of it, and I am excited to start creating more content, like wintry content. I was a bit sad because I had so many fun ideas for fall, but sometimes life just hits you unexpectedly with some, you know, tragic things or sad things or tough things, and you have to kind of deal with those head on before you tackle other things so that you can make it out to the other side. So those kind of fell to the side, and my priority sort of became my mental health, which is okay, and I encourage all of you to be like that as well. Yes, to answer your question, there will be a lot of wintry videos. I have a lot of really cool ideas. Okay, so these 2 questions are about my relationship, so I'm gonna kind of answer them together. The first one is, how did you know he was the one, and what are your thoughts on soulmates? And then the second question is, any tips for married people? So I'll answer the first question. So I think when you meet the person who is the one, you no longer have to pretend to be anything other than yourself, which I always thought was a really weird way to phrase that, because like, why would you pretend to be someone that you're not? But you realize when you find the right person that sometimes you really have been kind of like putting this mask on. And that sounds so cliche, but it's so true. And when I met Chris, I felt this like shell of myself just melt away, this like very hard exterior of having to be hyper independent and kind of mistrusting and dislike really girly things, and all of that just felt like it melted away because he saw me for who I really was, and I felt so comfortable opening up to him about who I really was and just being myself that it was so easy. And that's another thing is it's the right person when everything is so easy. I've been in a lot of relationships where you may have thought like, okay, I definitely could see myself marrying this person, I love them, whatever, but it's just like a constant uphill battle. You're fighting all the time, or like things are just never working out, or schedules are never working out, or you're just going like this, your life paths are going different directions. And I think personally, like, the universe will not send you somebody who's meant to be with you if they're not going the same way that you are. And I'm not talking just about like physically, like your bodies, but like your minds. Like, where do you guys see yourself in life? Are you going the same direction? Do you guys agree on the same kind of thing? Like, do you guys value the same sort of things? And that's, for us, it just all aligned. And not that this is like the best advice, but I actually moved in with him 3 months after meeting him because we just instantly knew, and he's just my best friend, and I never get sick of hanging out with him, and I know he feels the same way about me. And so, to answer your question about soulmates, I think that there are multiple soulmates. I think everybody has more than one soulmate, and you are lucky if you get to meet a soulmate that becomes your life partner. But I don't think that that's the only way that you can meet a soulmate. I think friends can be soulmates. For example, I think a lot of my best friends are soulmates of mine, and I think soulmates are people that you have in every single lifetime. And I do believe in reincarnation. I don't necessarily think it's all in this plane, this earth, this dimension. I think maybe we reincarnate from different types of life and things like that, but I think the same people who are your soulmates follow you, and you follow each other through these different lives. And maybe they play different roles in each life that you have. But yeah, I think he is my soulmate, but he's one of many of my soulmates. So I think that everybody has a pack of soulmates, a group of people who just sort of carry them through their different lives. Do you have a daily witchy practice / witch ritual? I would say that my morning routine feels very witchy, and it does keep me grounded. I try to do it daily, but I don't necessarily always do it daily. For me, it's pulling tarot and writing in my journal. And the last couple of weeks or months, really, I've been really bad about that. And once you fall out of a good habit, it becomes a bad habit very quickly to stop doing it. So I really want to get back into doing it. But for me, staying grounded, I love to write. I love to write my feelings, things I'm happy about, angry about, frustrated about, or just write stuff down. And what I love about pulling a daily tarot card is it just gives you intention for the day, or intention on what to write about. And so that to me is a really, really great practice. And another follow-up question to this is favorite ritual witchy tools, and do you have a grimoire? So one of the tools I like to use during my daily practice is incense. I love incense. I love the smell of it. It makes me feel really grounded. And then also writing in a grimoire. So I have several different notebooks. One is just my regular journal. I have one for like planning and just writing out video ideas, and then I do have a grimoire that I've been working on. I actually have two. So one of them is a cookbook, like kitchen witch grimoire, so it has recipes that I feel very connected to, and they kind of are seasonal, and cookies for the full moon or things like that. And so I've been handwriting all of those recipes. And then I just grabbed my other grimoire. This one it's like I write stuff down, but I also draw and paint things in it as well. So like, I'll show you one page. Like, this is sea magic. So in the summer, I started kind of getting into like sea witchcraft and sea magic, and I was learning about the different like deities and mythical creatures that are attached to it, like Aphrodite and her connection to it, or mermaids and sirens and you know, different familiars within like the ocean. And I like to paint along with what I write, because I just like to paint. You don't necessarily have to do that, but this has been a very slow going grimoire, but it's been fun to kind of write and draw in this, because I love to combine painting and writing together. Okay, so this one is, what do you do when you feel grief? So this year I experienced really intense grief for the first time. I lost my soul dog in the summer, Flynn. I had him for 13 years and he was just like my child. And so losing him was absolutely heart-wrenching and awful. And then these last few months I've sort of lost some family members, not like to death, but sort of for other reasons. And so that's been a lot, and a bit of grief in a different way for me. So it's an interesting question. So I'm learning how to deal with it. And in the past, when I deal with stress, I've tended to sort of like turn inward, and I cut people off, and I kind of just become very isolated, and it's not healthy. So this year I've been trying to do it differently. And so I've been throwing myself into a lot of projects, a lot of house projects, a lot of DIY projects, a lot of painting, a lot of things that are offline. So I'm not like focused on what's going on in the world around me, and I'm just, you know, working on something with my hands in the moment. Another thing that I've always done, which is a healthy habit, I would love to continue that, and I am continuing it, is I love to run. And that's not something that I talk about that often on my channel, but I'm a huge runner. I love to run. I go through periods of time where I'm running frequently, and then periods of time where I don't run that often, but no matter what, I love to run. And I just started a marathon training program actually with one of my best friends, and I think that's been a really nice way to deal with grief, is to just like channel yourself into something to work towards and focus on for the future. And so I'm excited about that as something, a goal I've set for myself to focus on, you know, outside of my own personal grief. All right, so the last question, this has been a very long video. The last question is there something you would like to improve and achieve in 2026? I have so many things this year that I would like to improve, I guess next year. This past year has been a really big year, and it's been really fun, but also really tough. So I think this next year, my biggest thing is going to be staying grounded. I want to really get offline. I think this past year I got way too hooked on the news and on scrolling and on being focused on what other people are doing and worrying about the world. And while I'm not going to stop caring or paying attention to the news, I am not going to center my daily life around it. And I don't want to focus so much on what other people are doing, and I want to focus on myself and my family and my own circle. So for me, that's going to mean doing a lot more offline tasks and spending a lot more time away from screens, spending a lot less money and time on things that are not beneficial to the life that I want to create. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go more into that. I think I have a video idea where I'm going to talk about my goals for 2026. So stay tuned for that. But that's sort of like a all-around description, I guess, of like how I want 2026 to go. Also, I talk with my hands a lot, and somebody made fun of me for that on my last video, so I'm sorry, but that will never stop. Okay, anyway, thank you guys for your questions, and I hope you guys have a great day. See you next time.